Welcome to the Q&A video for this week. You probably also noticed in the email I am doing my first class, I guess you could say, in my little sketch school that's going to be happening in the email newsletter. It's all about getting used to sketching and some of the good habits and some of the habits I'm trying to get out of and that sort of thing. And then in a couple weeks, I'm probably going to be either doing heads or hands or bodies first in terms of drawing and sketching. Actually, I'll probably start with the body now that I say this out loud. So look forward to those. I'm hoping to get those out every other week. I'm excited about that. I'm also excited about some other stuff going on around the channel. For example, tomorrow, I'm recording this on Wednesday because usually I record these on Thursday, but tomorrow I'm going out to a makerspace. There's a company here in the Cleveland area where I live that sells 3D printers and parts and things like that. And I'm getting a tour and I'm hoping to work with them on some videos. I'm not sure what kind of content to make yet. So I'm excited about that too. So a lot of cool stuff going on, but I have some questions. So let's get to those questions. First question today is from Martin, and he asks, what got you into cartooning? That's an easy question. When I was in high school, I drew a lot. I drew all the time, mostly on paper because that was before I had a computer. I grew up in the 90s, so computers were around, but only like the rich kids had computers. So I drew a lot on paper and pencil, and I had artist friends, and they were really good at drawing like Marvel comics and stuff like that. And I was not that great at drawing Marvel superheroes. Maybe at this part of the video, I'll overlay some of my old sketchbooks in practice because they were horrible. But what I did find is I was halfway decent at drawing cartoons. And so I just started drawing cartoons more and more. So really what got me into cartooning is that I was bad at drawing the comic books I love. But I also liked things like Calvin and Hobbes was huge back then. So I was really into some like newspaper comics. There's a comic that came out around that time called Bone, which I think is now in these giant trade paperbacks that you could buy. And at the time, that was revolutionary because it was like a full story, like a big, long, continuous story, but it was drawn as a cartoon. And usually you could only find those bigger stories in superhero comics. So that's really what got me started, was just learning how to draw way back in the 90s. So this next question is from Jordan, and Jordan says, at the moment, I am a hobbyist illustrator who works normal full-time job to make ends meet. I've purchased several lower price programs to help me advance my skills, programs like Procreate, Affinity Designer, Clip Studio, Paint Tool SI, that sort of thing. What he wants to know is, in my experience, what do I believe is the point where he thinks he could justify getting a subscription to Adobe Creative Cloud? Because obviously Adobe Creative Cloud is really expensive. I'm currently paying, I think I want to say $57 a month or something for Creative Cloud. So I would say this. If you're thinking you need that to make your artwork better, you do not. The stuff that you have right now is just good enough. I wouldn't even say just good enough. It is definitely good enough. And I've actually moved backwards away from Creative Cloud. I still use Photoshop a lot, but I'm obviously using Procreate a whole lot. I'm using Affinity Designer a whole lot. I'm using a lot of apps that aren't Photoshop nowadays. So you can do anything you need to on those apps. And I would say this, if you're thinking, when, as a professional, when will I need it? When someone says, I need this file in this format. So as long as what you're doing now, as long as what you're using now is working for you, I would stick with it. Don't tell Adobe I said that, but truly it is very expensive. And I would say for anybody just starting out, until you have a job, like you're working in an agency or for an agency, a freelance job that pays you a good living wage, I wouldn't worry too much about upgrading to Adobe. So this question is from Casey, and Casey says, I've always wanted to get into doing what you're doing, along with affiliate marketing and teaching and things like that. You seem to be making it pretty well, and I figured it would be best to ask you, I am a full-time caricature artist and freelance illustrator designer. What are your 3 tips for a seasoned professional to get into doing what you do? And I'm assuming that Casey means like the YouTube thing and the affiliate thing, because that was mentioned earlier. Also attached is a caricature done for me by Casey. That's so cool. Also gonna link up the Instagram and Facebook post call out down below if you want yours. Remember to include that in emails in the future. Okay, so I don't know if I have 3 tips. And my experience has always been to just share what I am learning. And I've also learned that it takes a long time to build an audience. I think back to my very first review, which was in June of 2014, which is almost 5 years ago. I started doing videos on a weekly basis a full year after that in the fall of 2015, which, that's 3.5 going on 4 years ago. It's taken a very long time to get to the point, which is really kind of the beginning of this year where I can say, okay, this is going to be my job and I'm not going to do as much client work. It takes a lot of time. And if you're interested in building a social media presence of any kind, or building a brand, as some people like to say, I would say start soon and just start posting stuff. Just start talking to people online. Just start engaging. I started doing that online, and I started doing that in real life, going to meetups, talking to people, meeting people, and slowly moving out. Just sharing the content you have, because you just never know. Like in my case, it was video. I was never really sure what was going to work until I started sharing and posting what I learned. But hopefully that helps. I'd just say start now and expect it to take a long time. Sean asks, do you think Adobe will woo new Creative Cloud subscribers on the iPad by giving out free pineapples? Yeah, I do. I really do. Mexis asks, what do you think of the new updates to Art Studio Pro? They've gone from 2.0 to 2.1, and he says it's getting so much better. And I need to check that out. I haven't checked it out. Art Studio Pro, I did a review of it about a year ago. I really liked it. The only thing, there's nothing that I did not like about it. It's just that I'm so used to Procreate, and to me it fills the same hole. It's a great painting program, right? And since I am so used to Procreate, and it's so familiar to me that I never really got as familiar with what's it called, Art Studio Pro. I screwed up the name already, but I do need to go back. I should definitely check those out and see what's going on there, because they're doing good work. Morgan asks, I know you said that the iPad Pro and the Apple Pencil is the best combo for Procreate, but I can't afford the iPad Pro. I do have the iPad Mini 3, and I was wondering what styles you would recommend. I'm sorry, what stylus I would recommend. I did a video a couple months ago where I talked about iPad styluses and why the Apple Pencil is the only one that is any good. In a nutshell, the iPad Pro, the new iPad, anything that works with an Apple Pencil has sensors in the iPad that knows when the Apple Pencil is near it. That's why the palm recognition works so well. It also is why it is so accurate. And other styluses are trying to hack that using Bluetooth, and it just doesn't work out all that well. And so my short answer is I wouldn't recommend anything else. There's stuff out there. There's Bluetooth styluses that cost $80. I really didn't like any of them. I think the $10 styluses that have the disc tips, they're not that great. However, you can find them for $5, $10, $15. I would recommend that over a Bluetooth stylus. Don't spend $80, $100 on a Bluetooth stylus. Unfortunately, there's just nothing out there that's that good compared to the Apple Pencil. Debbie asks, I have taken a photo of an object I made. I imported it into Procreate, and I'm getting ready to send it out to the print fulfillment house, but the shadow on the background persists. I want the object to stand alone. Is there a way to make the background transparent? So I think if I'm understanding this right, yes, in Procreate there is a way to make the background transparent. If you open your layers, you can actually go to the background, the white background, and just tap on the little check box and it'll turn the layer off. I might be misunderstanding the question. If that's the case, let me know. But for the most part, yes, you can turn that off and you can export that as a PNG and it will keep the background transparent. This question is from Nikki. It says, I have just finished the graphic design course, so you have more time to try new things and experiment. I specifically want to improve my drawing and vector work, specifically by improving the iPad and the Apple Pencil. I have the two Affinity products, although I find that the workflow is difficult after using the Adobe products. Are there any tips that you could give me to try to make this process any easier? And also included are the social links for Nikky. I'll include those in the description down below. So I don't have any great advice. First of all, don't feel bad if the iPad is throwing you for a loop. Those programs are totally different, and understanding how to get around them without a mouse and a keyboard can be a little bit difficult. It took me an extra month and a half to actually create a course for Affinity Designer on the iPad because I kept messing things up. It just takes time, it takes practice. My advice would be is if you're having a hard time getting started, at least for me, is I ended up taking things that I had already created in Adobe Illustrator because I already understood how I can constructed those illustrations and then recreate them in Affinity Designer for practice. That's what really helped me. I don't know if that'll help you or not, but it might be worth a shot. Anna asks, I am close to finishing school, so now I want to get a computer for university, a full computer, not a tablet or similar, and I would also describe myself as a beginning artist. At first, I was thinking about getting the Surface Pro, but I've heard about the Surface Book, which wouldn't be much more expensive, but could stand up by itself, which is less annoying. Maybe I'm wrong. The impression that the book would last longer, but is better suited for the university. Nonetheless, it's still very expensive compared to what I could probably get if it wasn't a pen display, so I'm not sure if it's really worth it. Do you have any advice for people like me who are kind of on a budget and considering getting a hybrid of this kind, even a concrete option for the Surface Book? Anyway, have a good day. Oh, this is a tough question. So obviously anything that comes with a pen is probably it tends to be more of the premium line of pre-Cs, so that's gonna cost a couple $100 extra. So that's tough. I think the Surface Book is obviously a great laptop. The Surface Pro, I think, actually works as a pretty good laptop. I kind of see what you mean because it's got the kickstand. If you're putting it on your lap, it's not quite as comfortable to type on as a steady keyboard might be. On a desk, it's fine. So those are things to take into account. But in terms of price, yeah, because you could get something similar for a couple $100 less, and then later down the line, you could get something like an inexpensive Intuos tablet or even an inexpensive screen tablet and go that route. So I'm not sure. I don't know what to tell you. I can tell you the Surface line is really good, but I can also tell you that it is kind of expensive, and if you wanted to go with something cheaper, you could. Obviously, the Surface Go is a little more inexpensive. That works with the pen. That's not such a bad option to go there. But yeah, I don't know. That is a very hard question to ask, or to answer, I should say. Anyway, thank you all for sending in questions. I think I was able to adequately answer about half of them today. That's pretty good. If you have a preference for what kind of things you'd like me to cover in my drawing course, go ahead and leave those comments on the drawing course or on this video too. I'll read them all. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see you in a couple of days.